Awesome, thank you. All right, I will call this special meeting to order at 1700. Adopt adjust agenda. Do we need any adjustments to the agenda?
Yes.
No, that's a...
Yes. Letter D,
Adjust.
under new business. We need that needs to be adjusted. It says for 2024. And we're looking at 2023.
Oh, it needs to say 24.
Why?
Oh,
That was a question. There was a question on that.
no, that's a typo, but it's
It
only...
should be 23.
Yeah, it's only your guys' copy that has that.
Oh, okay.
All right.
That's just helpful hints.
And then I believe that letter E under new business should be under old business, since both those things are things we've discussed in the past.
Say that again?
The two items that are in new business E in our executive session are things we've discussed in the past, and that would make them old business.
I don't think that's how it works. I think that if we're going to be continuing these conversations, they got to be in the new business.
I
At least
don't know.
In the executive session, we've always done them under new business. So
Okay, well, maybe,
we're going to keep that.
no, that's okay, but I'm just, tonight it was very distinct that we're talking about things from the past in executive session. So,
Okay. I would personally like to keep them the way they are, if you're okay with that.
okay,
All right.
that's fine, but I think in the future, if we have something like that, where an executive session has things from the past, we ought to have it under old business.
Okay. I think next time, let's when he sends us these agendas a couple of days prior, let's address that then, if you don't mind, so that we
Okay.
can avoid.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. All right. So adopt the agenda as presented. Approve meeting minutes from previous meeting. Any changes to the previous meeting minutes?
I would move that we adopt the minutes of November 14th as we have presented this evening.
All in favor of that motion? Aye. Motion passed. Open public comments. Speakers are requested to limit 3 minutes per person. Do we have any open public comments? All right. Old business. Regular meeting calendar. So we've been emailing back and forth with Chief Waller about our calendar, and I believe Brian Snur sent a recommendation for us to do a resolution for that calendar.
And it's in writing in the resolution, and there's an attachment with the color-coded calendar days, so we have it in there twice.
Any changes to the calendar, or do we have a motion to accept that resolution?
I'll move to adopt the regular meeting schedule for 2023 per resolution 550.
All right, all in favor of that motion? Aye. All right, motion passed. Public outreach contract update.
Yeah, the communication committee felt that an August target date was more appropriate, and with that, Liz Loomis adjusted her contract that's more per month but less total, since we're doing, originally it was going to go through November. So if the board adopts or feels like August is a better target than November, then I would suggest that we modify the contract with or change it out with the new contract. And if they feel like November is a better target, we can stay with the current contract.
Who was on, wasn't one of you on the committee that talked about that?
I did not attend the committee meeting.
I'm
Sorry? I was not able to attend the first
okay.
Zoom meeting, the first committee meeting,
Okay.
the outreach committee.
You want a little bit more information on this before we move forward with this, Richard?
No, I just was wondering if you were able to make it. If you weren't, that's, it's understandable. No, I'd move that we modify the Loomis contract to go through August.
All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Informational items, accounts payable and payroll. Any questions with those?
Not anymore.
Not anymore, you got
No.
your questions answered?
Yeah.
Any questions?
No question.
All right, we don't need a motion on that. We'll move on to new business. Regional cooperative service opportunities.
Plug on my document here. So, it's been a hot topic for everybody over a period of months. And as a new commissioner to the job, it came hard and fast, trying to gather the information and talk to different stakeholders. And I continue my own analysis and consideration of whether consolidation is a good option for District 4. And I would say I do generally support it, and I see many benefits. But I'll keep it brief. I would like to make a motion to the board to direct the fire chief, Chief Waller, to commence a series of informal planning meetings with Snohomish Regional Fire and Rescue to explore consolidation options with them, with meetings beginning in January 2023. I used the terminology informal planning meetings. I think planning meeting is a step towards RFA formation, and I don't know if it's going to end up there. So just wanted to clarify that they're informal planning meetings beginning in 2023. And I think that there is a lot more to discuss in that direction, but I would like to get that ball rolling in January.
All right. If she has a motion, all in favor of that motion? Aye.
We need some discussion, I think,
Oh,
beforehand.
discussion.
Where does this thing come into play?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So-
the information.
How does that come into play?
So Brian Snur, he put together this notebook, and he has really good roadmaps for both merger and an RFA in that notebook. Honestly, I'm still in the information gathering phase. I'm not gonna say I already have decided that no action, merger, or an RFA is the best decision. I just still need more information, but that's a direction that I think needs to be explored. So according to his roadmap in here of how this is done, I guess the expectation from any of these these informal planning meetings would be to either result in a petition for merger with Surfer, a mediated or official planning committee that's going towards an RFA, or a recommendation of no action with strong justification. That's the expectation.
Did you have some concerns regarding the
Sure. One of your statements in making the resolution said that you've heard a lot of rumblings out there. I've heard nothing. So I don't know where you're hearing the rumblings from. If it's just a certain segment of the population, or if it's from our workers, or if it's from our staff. I don't know, So when you say you've heard a lot of things, I haven't heard anything except from what the chief has shared in the email and so forth like that. So when you say there's a lot of stuff going on, you'd have to show me, or you'd have to indicate who these people are. If it's like if it's like our workers or somebody like that, that would be it. Or if it's like your neighborhood,
Mhm.
you know, something like that.
Sure.
And so I haven't heard anything, so I don't know where it's coming from, and,
My hope is that you maybe can draw a conclusion by the fact that this entire room is full of employees that work here.
A little more than our usual
so,
attendance.
So that's-
what am I supposed to infer from all those people there? That they're in favor of it?
No,
No.
That they don't want it?
we don't know.
Yeah.
That's.
Well, what's the rumor? What's the rumor? Maybe that's the question. What's the rumor?
Well, I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of the crews in their station. They did station visits for a little while there, and it was a random sample. I didn't hit everybody, so I apologize. But it was probably the second or third question through the door with most of the crews I met with is what's going on with merging with Surfer. Also, my husband is an employee of Surfer, and so what he gets almost every shift he goes to work is when are we merging with District 4? And I can't tell you the origin of those rumors, but I can verify the frequency with which I hear them from both departments. I've heard of a lot of sometimes tense interactions between crews on scene, between District 4 and Surfer crews, kind of trying to pass information back and forth or ask, what do you know, what do you know? I'm pretty sure that has happened, maybe. So that's where I've heard it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you heard it too?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure you probably have.
Yeah.
You're over it.
Yeah.
They're probably asking you because.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I would, if we're going to do anything, I would suggest that we try to do things as we did with, and you were part of the thing with Everett,
100%.
to try to follow some sort of a thing like that, where there's some meetings together and so forth like that, and once who knows? And they may not want to talk with us because they don't want a RFA or whatever. Whatever that thing
I think
might be.
that's what her motion is.
And the thing is to find that out. You know, I think that's a legitimate thing to do. To find out things like that. But from as I understand merging, as I understand what it means to merge, is that are they willing to merge with us?
Yeah.
See, if they're willing to merge with us, then they lose everything. If we merge with them, we lose everything. That's my understanding of how it merges. Because that's what happened with 3. That's what happened with 3, and that's what happened with 5.
I think that that's why we want to bring the right people in here to answer those questions.
And
I don't think we don't have that information.
I took a lot of care also to distinguish an RFA formation requires a planning committee that's required in the RCW. And so that term would indicate, or arranging meetings in the same way as the Everett situation is kind of a track towards an RFA formation. And I don't even know if we're there yet. So a series of pre-planning meetings to decide whether going in the direction of an RFA or a merger or no action, I think precedes having a series of mediated meetings with the planning committee. And so that's the step that I want to initiate in January of this next year.
Can I ask some clarifying questions? So,
yes, sure.
so with Everett, we did something similar. Before we ever had an official meeting like you're talking about, Commissioner, we had the chiefs and the board chairs met for, we didn't have any time frame, but we met to decide on the logistics, the format, who we were going to hire as a consultant. We interviewed a couple consultants. We got a plan for all that data that you saw. We actually started compiling that before we actually met so that we could have common data, right? Because we all collect data, but we all collect it in a little different ways. So Chief DeMarco and I were working together to be able to format our data in the same reasonable format. So when we came to you, I could look back. I don't know how long that took, but it took a while. There was no time frame, and so I believe what the motion is to do something similar. So it was after that we came to the board and said, we think it should be an RFA with this consultant, and then we did the formal, well, we never, actually we weren't doing an RFA plan. We did a formal discussion about an RFA meeting. So even our formal work meetings didn't get to true planning meetings. So we had all those series of formal meetings weren't technically the RFA planning committee. We ended at the end of our formal informal meetings. So we had informal meetings, and then we had formal informal meetings, and never got to the formal planning meeting. So I'm taking the motion as getting to that informal and just trying to get everything aligned so we can come back to you with a plan. And the only thing that I would politely suggest is on this turn, I would ask that we also include the local presidents. So the two chiefs, 2 board chairs, and 2 local presidents in these informal meetings, but that will be up to the direction you give. And then the only other question I would have in your motion is if you have a specified time frame or if it's left up to the informal planning committee.
I specified a beginning time, but I didn't specify a duration of how long the meetings should go on because I didn't know what was appropriate. So, yeah, we could use a little discussion about that.
We would, in the past, we would typically report it back, not necessarily every month, but anytime there, because schedules get busy. So sometimes you have production in a month, and sometimes you meet in a month and don't have production, or meet in a month or don't meet in a month. So we would typically, when we would report back to the board as it was going.
Also, I think I don't know if this was evident in my motion, but I'm personally still in a learning phase, and so I would also expect from these informal planning meetings, just that there's a lot of explanatory material coming back to me, because there are many who are far more knowledgeable about this than I am, and I feel the responsibility for making good judgments, but I don't always have the depth of information, and so a big portion of this would just be providing a lot of materials for me personally and the other commissioners to consider, because I'm going into it very open-minded, and I just want to make sure that I have all the information. So.
Yeah, if we follow the same format as Everett, we would do the informal ones first, which didn't actually put much information. We gathered of it. We didn't put it in a presentable fashion. We hired Karen Reed to do the informal formal ones, where we were actually presenting the information to you guys at the same time. And actually we were presenting it to Everett's representatives at the same time. So we had 6 people there that was getting the presentation at the same time, so there was no discrepancy. So not saying we have to do that, but that could also be a recommendation of that formal, informal. What you're saying is a more, do we even want to talk about it? But you have to get the facts before you can even decide if you want to talk. And like at Everett, we decided not to talk after talking.
Okay, right. But one thing that I am fairly certain about is if we're going in the direction of regional cooperative services, that SURFR, it's going to take a whole lot to disqualify them as the #1 candidate. To decide that, I saw that our mutual aid exchange is like 85% of our mutual aid coming into District 4 is SURFR, and 75% of our mutual aid going out is to SURFR. And the rumors that I've heard people express a desire just to consider all neighboring departments when considering cooperative services. And the second runner-up is South County with about 5 to 7% of mutual aid given and received. There's also questions of contiguous borders. When you look at a map, I feel like I could approach anybody on First Street and say what makes sense, and it's with Surfer instead of with South County or any other partners. And so I am of the opinion that if regional cooperative services is the direction we're going, that it will take a very strong argument to sway towards anybody else besides Surfer. So that is why I named them specifically in my motion instead of saying that we were going to explore with all partners. I want to clarify that.
Thank you. Do you have any more questions on the motion or any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to hear it again, please. And are you going to, anything be changed with what the chief has said? Or is this the kind of
He's helping me with the right word,
Is this the
right
kind
words.
of approach you were thinking of? Doing something similar to what he
Yeah.
said we did with Everett?
Yes. So,
Okay. But I'd like to hear the motion again, please.
yeah. I would like to make a motion to the board to direct the fire chief to commence a series of informal planning meetings with Snohomish Regional Fire and Rescue to explore consolidation options with meetings beginning in January 2023.
The only thing I would question in that is to call the district, we want to do it by its official name rather than the name it's working with. And that would be Snohomish County Fire District Number 7. That's their official name that they're working with. That hasn't been changed. So that's, on all their legal papers, that's what it is. So I would think that I'd ask you to change that in the motion.
You want to read
So,
it?
so we know who we're,
Protection,
6, 7.
Snohomish County Fire District 7.
number 7.
Snohomish Regional.
Snohomish
So-
Regional.
Snohomish County Fire Protection District Number 7, doing business as,
That's the official name.
DBA, doing business as Snohomish Regional Fire and Rescue.
That's the official.
Okay.
Is that okay to amend
That
it
is
that way?
fine, Snohomish County Fire District 7, okay.
Oh, smokes.
Okay,
Well, if you're gonna do something
Yes,
legal.
yes.
you know,
Yeah,
you
certainly.
need to have the
I would
legal
like to make a motion to the board to direct the fire chief to commence a series of informal planning meetings with Snohomish County Fire District Number 7 to explore consolidation options with meetings beginning in January 2023.
All right. All in favor of this motion? Aye.
All right.
All right, motion passed.
Is
Yeah.
that unanimous?
Clarify one more thing. We'll
Yeah.
work for 2023. I'll need to designate if the chair is going to do it, and then I just want to give a warning that we schedule sometimes don't always allow the first meeting to happen in 2023, but we will have it scheduled in 2023. Does that meet the intent of the motion? mean, it might not-
Yes,
The
yes,
scheduling will be done in January, or the first meeting might not be in January.
that meets the intent of the
Okay.
motion. Thank you.
All right. On to policies. Do you have any questions on those, either added or proposed changes to those policies that haven't already been addressed prior to the meeting?
Where was the one with, media release, 301? Were the commissioners also included in the list of people who would be getting the media releases?
Yes.
Okay. Just
And-
want
and
to
we've also been
clarify
added
that.
to
I
the-
didn't see that there, but,
It'll also be added to the button.
okay.
They just push one button and it emails everybody.
So who, may I ask who's all involved in that?
Involved in it, or who is on the submit button?
No, who gets all the official media releases that are sent out by the district?
It can vary, but currently it goes to the administrative staff, the executive chiefs, the local newsprint organizations, and the commissioners,
And isn't there a couple of TV stations?
and a couple of TV
Yeah,
stations.
so it's anybody that has, so media-wise, it's anybody that's been requested. District-wise, it's the commissioners, the chief staff, and the administrative staff that run our social media. And the
That's
chief,
the only question I had about that, to make sure the commissioners were there. So with that in mind, I would move that we adopt policy 120, 203, 205, 208, 301, 306, 308, 401, 402, 404, 506, 603, 614, 704, 738, and 807.
All right, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
That motion passed. All right, chassis bid.
so in the 23 budget, you approved the chassis, and then when I started doing research, I found out it's even harder to get than our last staff vehicles. So we need to get the bid out right away. I'm 99% confident no one's going to be able to accept the bid, but talking to our attorney, then that will allow us to do an emergency purchase authorization when we find one. It's gonna just take a lot of work, and we're gonna have to grab the first one that we can get our hands on.
Okay, I'll make a motion to send request bid for the chassis cab as presented.
All right, all in favor of that motion? Aye. Motion passed. All right, 2024 chair and vice chair.
I would move that we appoint Commissioner Flath as chair and appoint Commissioner Merritt as vice chair for 2023. And if you'd like to know why, I'll share that with
All right.
the board.
Yeah, you can open that up for discussion.
Okay. The reason I said that after our discussion here with how we're going to go on with the motion of trying to do that, I think that would have a better image to the public that someone who is a worker over there, an employee of District 7, isn't also the chair from coming over. That it would be a better witness to the community, that we were trying to do things in a good manner and not have any issues that might come up as we go forward. So that's the reason I moved it that way.
All right. You have a motion?
Do you have any discussion?
I don't see that being a conflict of interest, and I don't think I can make a motion to make myself chair.
Well, you have a motion on the floor. You either have to pass it
Okay.
or...
All right.
or
Well,
fail.
all right. Motion is on the floor. All right. All in favor of that motion? No.
Was there one abstain? I only heard 2 votes.
Abstain.
I felt as though I'd like just a little more time to consider. I really do like the your reasoning. I just think there might be some other things that I'm not able to come to mind right now that might change that. Are we able to? That needs to be done tonight.
So that we wouldn't have to have a chair until the January meeting. Vice chair is not required. The only thing not having a chair for the first 9 days is no special meeting could be called until we appoint a chair.
Would we call a special meeting prior to that? Sometime between now and then?
Yeah, so the rules for a special meeting are the chair or then made a motion. So it's just, you can't do it without.
Yeah.
Really all I would want is just to be able to review the roles and responsibilities of the chair and just to be able to go down the list, just to make sure there's not anything that I'm not considering. And that's just from my newness to this position. I just want to make sure there's nothing that I'm not seeing or considering. So if I had the opportunity just to read the roles and responsibilities one more time, I think I'd feel then comfortable about.
I believe the January meeting is the 9th, so you're talking the 1st through the 8th, you couldn't call a special meeting. That's the impact, which I don't think.
Yeah, I would move to table that for a special meeting. I think that might be a very well thought out and good move. I just want to review the function of the chair of the board, just make sure that I have the whole picture, and then I'll be ready to make a decision. So.
Can I clarify?
Yeah.
Are you tabling the motion, or are you tabling the subject?
Subject.
Okay, so we'll go back to the motion was a
Motion would
1-1, so it failed.
Right.
So the motion has failed, and you're tabling to move the this item to the January agenda, regular meeting agenda.
Doesn't need a special.
No, I was just saying we couldn't call a special meeting because we have the chair.
Okay.
So
Okay,
we're tabling
then-
this subject to the regular January meeting.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
clarify.
So who chairs that meeting to begin with?
That'll be the first, on old business, that'll be the first item of discussion, and we'll do that first.
That should be the first item.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
The table is a motion, so you guys have to
Yeah,
vote
we
on the
have to
motion.
table
That's what I
All
said,
right.
the motion
All
table.
right, so the motion to table this, all in favor of that motion? Aye. All right, motion passed. Executive session. The board will be moved to an executive session pursuant to RCW 42.30.110 to consider the selection of a site or acquisition of real estate, 20 minutes with no action expected. And to pursuant RCW 42.30.110 to review the performance of an employee, 30 minutes with no action expected. A total of 50 minutes for executive session. And that is at 5:42, 17:42, 17:33. Did it wrong.
Yeah, those are all.